Alrighty, the A-team returns. My sincere apologies for missing work yesterday and sticking you guys with the A- team of Jessie and Reed. Still a great grade and passing. We appreciate you guys joining us here on The Sweat. Guess what, though?
What?
We will finally talk some golf today ahead of Tiger's season debut tomorrow.
Tiger Woods, y'all. Plus Super Bowl prop bets and who to pay up for tonight around the NHL, the final night before the league breaks for All-Star festivities.
Indeed, but we're rolling with our NBA panel first. Say what up to this quad box. DK Live's Julian Edlow, Alex Baruta from RotoWire, Karin Phillips of the New York Daily News, and Awesemo.com's Josh Engelman.
Guys, we're playing Price Check, trying to figure out who you guys think will return value on their salary tonight, starting with the only two players on this slate who are over 10K. James Harden sits at a whopping 13-4, which is tied for a season high in salary as the Rockets travel to MSG to face the Knicks. And then Joel Embiid checks in at 10-5 with the Sixers hosting the Spurs. So who's worth the big bucks here, Jules?
Yeah, well, I mean, Embiid is now questionable with that back injury, so he carries a little bit more risk now, and that game doesn't tip off until an hour after the slate begins. So Embiid definitely carries a lot more risk now. He also had a really poor game against San Antonio earlier this season. In 29 minutes, he scored just 33.75 DraftKings points. So I think it's Harden to begin with, but with the new risk that Embiid is carrying, Harden at MSG on the type of run that he's on, I think it's kind of a no-brainer.
Josh, where are you going on this one?
I'm going to Harden. He's just breaking everything. I have him projected for 41, 10, and 8 today, and that's just, I don't even know what to do with that information any longer. So until he stops doing this on a day-to-day basis, I have to stick with James Harden.
Karin, where are you going?
I'm going to Houston with James Harden, like where it's there to go. He's playing the Knicks. They're not good. And he's playing in Madison Square Garden. So he probably have like 300 points tonight.
Wow, 300 points. Mark the tape.
That would set records.
Alex, are you also going to go with Harden?
Yeah, it's going to be unanimous for me. I mean, the Knicks are 29th in defense. If Embiid's dealing with a sore back, it's just, I don't know if it's worth the risk, even if you're paying down for him. Like Josh said, until we see otherwise, I think we have to roll with Harden.
Well, behind door number 2, we're still breaking the bank, but not nearly as much as our first two options. 3 players sitting in the 9K range. So you have Nikola Jokic at 9,800. Blake Griffin faces an Anthony Davis-less Pelicans team in New Orleans and will cost you $100 less than the Joker.
A Kardashian curse. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's real. And then there's Orlando big man Nikola Vucevic, who has a $9,300 price tag. So who is worth the investment, Josh?
It's all really close, but I'm going Vooch. Nets have been abused by centers for, I don't know, like 3 years now. It doesn't seem like the trend seems to be stopping. And that's really all I need to know. Vooch is one of the best offensive centers in the game. He's been smashing all season. I expect it to continue. And I think Aaron Gordon is officially in now. That doesn't change my mind at all.
Okay. Karin, who are you deciding to spend your money on?
I'm going with the Joker every time he's available for me to pick. And the only person that I would pick over him right now in the last couple months would be James Harden. Just because, you know, with the Joker, his ability every night to fill the stat sheet up in so many different boxes, it's just like an automatic win anytime that guy's available. So I would take him tonight.
By the way, yeah, Aaron Gordon officially in for this evening. Alex, who do you like out of these three guys we just presented you with?
Yeah, I like Vucevic. It's important to note how bad Brooklyn's been against centers. That's really the main key here. I worry about Jokic against the Jazz. Denver is a 7-game losing streak in Utah. They've been held under 90 points in 5 of those. Griffin's a fine tournament play, but Vooch is definitely a lot safer.
All right, Jules, you have Nikola, Blake, and Nikola.
Yeah, I mean, even with Utah kind of falling off defending centers this season, Jokic still has the worst matchup by far when you talk about Blake Griffin going up against a Pelicans team that doesn't have Anthony Davis, and then Vucevic going up against the Nets, who just can't defend bigs at all. So Vucevic is definitely the safer play. He's the guy that I'd like to roll with. But just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, if Andre Drummond, who's missed some time with a concussion, does wind up remaining out, there is a lot of upside for Blake Griffin there in New Orleans. So Drummond, I think it's looking likely that he's going to play, but if he does sit out, he could be kind of a nice pivot play off of a really popular Vucevic play on this slate.
All right, since we've spent all of our money, let's go low and look at
familiar?
3 guys around 5,500. Yeah, sounds familiar. All of whom are coming off 30-plus fantasy point performances. Dwayne Dedmon, he gave the Hawks north of 38 fantasy points his last outing, and he's going to cost you 5-6 tonight at Chicago. Utah's Derek Favors has at least 23 fantasy points in each of his last 6 and has a 5-3 price tag. Then Pacers guard Darren Collision put up over 40 DK points in his last game and will run you 5,200. You can only pick one. So who you got, Karin?
Nice job.
I'm going with Dedmon. I've covered a handful of Hawks games down here in Atlanta this season. Really like what I've been seeing from him, especially coming off his last performance. But the underlying factor here is that he's playing like an easier opponent for him to put up against numbers and put up good numbers against. And also, if you've been paying attention, the Hawks are in full tank mode. And they're not even trying to hide it anymore. So this means this guy is probably going to get a lot more minutes the rest of the season.
Alex, Dwayne, Derek, or Darren?
Alex.
Oh, to me? Sorry.
Yeah, you're Alex, right?
Favors here. I think he'll be on the court a lot. Sorry. Yeah. He'll be on the court a lot considering how big the Nuggets front court is. I mean, they have Nikola Jokic. They have Paul Millsap, Mason Plumlee. I worry about Dwayne Dedmon's floor, just like his fantasy floor as a player, and the Raptors' defense against Collison. I would rather avoid it.
Julian, where are you going on this one?
Yeah, if I have to pick between this trio, it's Dedmon, but realistically, I'm not playing any of these 3 guys. I just don't think that there's much appeal to them when this slate is giving us, with 10 games, there's so many guys injured that there's just value scattered across the board that you have to take advantage of. Like basically everybody in a Celtics uniform is $4,000 to $6,000 and is going to be playing without Kyrie Irving, without Al Horford. Enes Kanter is a guy at $5,000 that with Luke Kornet out, he's going to be the starting center for the Knicks now going against a Houston team that has no big bodies. Like this slate has a ton of guys, even down in the 3,000s, all the way up into the 5,000 range, that just have so much more value because of injuries. You mentioned Anthony Davis out. Jahlil Okafor had a really good game for the Pelicans last time around. So I think there are like just so many better values in this price range that I'm just not looking to either of the 3.
Josh, take us home here.
Yeah, he stole my gimmick. I was going to pass on all 3 of these guys. Go with like Jaren Jackson or DeAndre Bembry or something along those lines. As long as Jaren Jackson can play and that arena doesn't burn down before the start of the game, I think Jaren Jackson would be my pick.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. Safety first, kids. You dudes hang tight, though. We'll play some Tears of Joy with you 4 later in this program. But first, we got some NFL prop bets to run through.
Hey, it's Brendan Glasheen, and with this DraftKings Fantasy Flash, Larry Fitzgerald ain't done just yet. The Cardinals and the 11-time Pro Bowler agreed to a 1-year deal Wednesday. 2019 will be his 16th season. Fitz got off to a slow start this past year. He logged single-digit DraftKings points in 5 of the first 6 games. Then he was pretty consistent. Fitzgerald notched double figures in 9 of the last 10 games. His target numbers were up in December, despite the Cardinals' lackluster campaign. Perhaps Fitzgerald is intrigued by what Cliff Kingsbury can bring to the table should the new head coach select a quarterback with the first overall pick in the draft. Not a bad idea to have a receiver on board who has seen it all, and then they could even continue the Josh Rosen experiment. Again, Fitzgerald numbers weren't too bad down the stretch, so he could serve as a helping hand to the UCLA product once again. Fitzgerald turns 36 at the end of August, right before the start of the regular season. What a guy, wants to keep suiting up. You can't ask for too much on the fantasy front, but hey, there could be a little something left in the tank.
We're getting into football talk while we can as we cling in a state of controlled panic to the season that is slowly slipping away from us.
Very, very dark there, Coffield. Let's play NFL Propped Up, though, with our NFL panel to cheer you and everyone who had to listen to that at home up. What up now to DK Live, Steve Buchanan, Gary Thorne, and Pierce Dietrich.
So we're checking out the latest prop bets for the Super Bowl. First up, both conference championships went to OT, and the Patriots famously went there against Atlanta 2 years ago.
Yes, I remember.
But is plus 900 good enough odds to take a shot that the Super Bowl 53 will go to extra time, Steve?
I mean, look, only one Super Bowl game has gone into overtime, and that was the Patriots and Falcons 2 years ago. So if you're just going by history, the odds aren't really in your favor. I mean, but, you know, when you look at the odds here, I mean, it's pretty good for your money. But I feel like for an event that really happens, the odds seem a little bit low, right? I mean, can we get some higher numbers here? Like, who's giving us these odds here? Plus 900? I mean, for something that's only happened one in the past 52 games, you know, at least 1,000, you know, can we boost those up a little bit? One of the odds boost things that they do there. So, I mean, it's not bad money. Anytime you can get plus money is always something you can consider. But, you know, obviously, like I said, as history says, not on your side.
Garion, what do you think?
Yeah, I know there's the old saying that, like, the coin doesn't know it's been heads the last 3 times, but do we really think another game is going to overtime? I just can't really see it happening. I know historically Tom Brady-led Patriot teams play really, really tight Super Bowls. I think everyone's been decided by a single score, so maybe we get a close game, but especially with 2 high-scoring teams. We're talking about the 2nd highest and 4th highest scoring regular season teams so far this season. I just think when you're talking about this amount of expected points and implied points, it's hard to say they're going to tie at the end of 60 minutes. If it was a lower scoring game, maybe I could get behind this, but I don't really want any part of this one.
Pierce, what do you think?
He's right. The odds really aren't where they should be. Plus 900 for a very specific outcome. And the Patriots could win by 1, 2, 3, 4. You name the amount of points, or the Rams could win by, you name the amount of points. You're betting on one specific outcome that has happened once. The number should be a lot higher. I think it's going to have to go up to entice people to bet on it.
All right, well, of all the most likely candidates, we're talking like the stars here, Jared Goff has the longest odds to score a rushing touchdown. He had 2 of them on the season. Garion, would you take a chance at plus 900 that the Rams quarterback scampers into the end zone?
Well, here's the thing, and it speaks to the point these guys were making. I don't necessarily think this is a good bet, but if you're asking me which 900 bet I'd rather take, I'd be much more inclined to say this happens at least once if you play this game 9 times. I don't think it's a terrible bet. I mean, Jared Goff actually has the 10th highest amount of red zone rushing attempts among all quarterbacks so far this season. And a lot of that is just sheer volume. The Rams, 4.9 red zone possessions per game. That's by far the most of any team in football. So they're just in the red zone a lot. If a play breaks down, he has the athleticism to get into the end zone. I don't think it's going to happen, and I have a hard time making a bet on something that's not the first outcome or the first wanted outcome of a play. Like, if this happens, it's off a broken play. So it's a hard thing to bet, but he's not the worst quarterback to assume just because of the expected volume.
Is this a hard one for you, Pierce?
Well, one of the luxuries, or maybe the curses, of a one-game slate is that we pretend to know what's going to happen. We predict the what's going to happen in every single series. And so if I am predicting what's going to happen, I just don't see him scrambling out of the pocket the first 3 quarters of the game. Maybe if it's the 4th quarter, and even then they need to be down a touchdown. Otherwise, I see Goff staying in the pocket and settling for 3 points. They're not going to call a designed run play when you've got C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley. Again, this is just – I think it's a specific outcome that's just not likely.
Hey, Steve, plus 900 for Goff to score a rushing touchdown. You taking that bet?
I think I'd probably take the overtime bet if we're gonna compare plus 900 here. But I mean, look, Goff isn't a rusher by any means, and Pierce just nailed it here. It's not like they're designing plays to do it. I mean, obviously we've seen the quarterback sneak with Tom Brady. Those are designed plays, and we've seen him do it in the red zone as well. I can't recall a time where it was designed that Goff was going to rush one in. I mean, the 6 rushing attempts he had last week against the Cowboys, that was the most that he's had in any game over the past 2 seasons. So if he gets one here, it is going to be so totally random that you're going to look brilliant if you hit it. And if you don't hit it, it's like, well, yeah, I probably should have just bet the overtime because there's probably a better chance that happened. So, I mean, again, for the odds that you're getting here, plus money is always a good thing, but it's one of those things that you're probably just likely tossing your money away taking this bet here.
Well, you can get plus 850 odds that the Rams will win the game by 2 touchdowns. So, Pierce, do you see any way that happens?
The Rams have a good enough defense and they have a good enough running game that they could get up by 2 touchdowns. But if they get up by 2 touchdowns, they then go into everybody's favorite prevent defense. And if you play prevent defense against Tom Brady, there is no way you sustain that 2 touchdown lead. If they get up by points, they're going to give up tons of yardage and points to Tom Brady. I think this is the worst one of all. I think it's tricky and it might lure some people in, but you're not going to beat Tom Brady by 2 touchdowns.
Steve, I think you probably agree with Pierce on that.
Yeah, Pierce is okay sometimes. I feel like when the Rams have won this season, it's by an average margin of 12 points. So they're right there in that realm. But let's not forget, they give up a ton of points, too. I mean, they allow just under 24 points per game during this season. And the Patriots have been rolling offensively, especially in the playoffs lately. They're averaging 39 points over those 2 games that they played against the Chargers. And the who did they just beat there? The Chiefs. The Chiefs, thank you. Yeah. You know what? It wasn't even a game. You know what I mean? Oh, we all knew they were going to win. I didn't even have to watch it. But look, you look at the spread here, and it indicates that it's probably going to be a close game. And I think they're going to be closer, to that realm. I don't see this being a blowout on either side here. I mean, both have 2 really good offenses. Both have 2 really good quarterbacks that are running those offenses. So to think that either team's going to win by 2 touchdowns, I think is a little bit of a stretch here. And especially on the Rams side, I mean, there's so much love going to the Patriots right now. I think that's the way it's going to go. Not because I'm a homer, but truly, I don't see how the Rams win by 2 touchdowns here.
Didn't even have to watch that Chiefs game that went to overtime.
Yeah, I already knew.
Such a snoozer. Gary, where are you going on this one?
Well, I mean, even I stopped watching South Park in the 17th season. Like, there's only so much you can take.
It's still good.
It is. It is still good.
It really is, though.
I think that this is just – look, could it happen? Sure. But really, why are you making this bet? I think it's such – like Pierce has been saying, it's just a specific outcome. And I know that they could win this game by 3 touchdowns. And there's many outcomes where this still hits. But if you look at the implied point total of the Patriots – the Rams would essentially have to score 40 points for this to come true if they hit that total. Now, they might not hit that total, but the Rams defense hasn't really blown me away so far this season. They're pretty pedestrian by pass DVOA, which I think is really one of the main considerations I would say I would look at in this game, especially if, like Pierce said, they get up by this amount and it's their pass defense they have to lean on to keep this margin of victory intact. I just don't really see it happening. It's too many points. The Patriots, as I mentioned up the top, tend to play close games. And even certain aspects of the Rams defense, like they've been pretty bad by adjusted sack rate so far this season. And that's something I really look for in opponents of the Patriots. I just think you're throwing your money away here.
All righty, guys. Fantastic work as always. Go take a break. We're going to be talking golf, some Chaser Fade with Reed and Jeff next.
Hey, it's Adam Kaufman, and this is your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. 4 got the call to the Hall this week. Mariano Rivera, Edgar Martinez, Mike Messina, and the late Roy Halladay will make up the next Hall of Fame class in Cooperstown. Plenty have argued whether Rivera should have been the first unanimous. See, it's not that he shouldn't be, it's more, shouldn't it have happened by now? Ken Griffey Jr. or somebody earlier? People talk about Babe Ruth, you get it. Or there's that conversation about whether DHs belong, Edgar. Or the fact Messina wasn't even one of the best pitchers of his era, let alone all time. So cue the Hall of Very Good jokes. But sometimes discussions aren't centered around who did get in, but rather who didn't, like Curt Schilling, Barry Bonds, and Roger Clemens. First 3 out. Schilling was a postseason hero, made a sizable jump from 51% to nearly 61% of the necessary 75%. What's that tell us? Kurt's going to get in the next few years, and he can bring his bloody sock, too, even though he once suggested journalists be lynched. People don't forget. But Bonds and Clemens, they're also hovering around 60%, 59 and change to be exact, and they only jumped a couple percentage points in the last year. General rule of thumb, if someone gets to 70%, there's a good chance of reaching the 75 he needs the following year. But this trio only has 3 years left on the ballot, then it's up to the Veterans Committee. That's how Harold Baines and Lee Smith got in this year, and if Baines can reside in Cooperstown, well, Schilling's going to be a lock. But Bonds and Clemens, 2 greats with connections to performance-enhancing drugs. Hall of Famers from a previous era may be even less forgiving than some crusty old writers.
Hey, what's up? Hello, it is time to talk golf. Yes, and we've really missed doing that, especially when it's with these two. DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Reed Fowler sporting the new haircut there.
And Jeff has a dog shirt on.
That's his dog.
Woo-wee! Oh, wait, is that your dog?
I already lose.
Yeah, you do already lose,
It's not my
man.
dog, but it looks like my dog.
What's your dog's name, Jeff?
Wiley.
Oh, it's so cute.
Wiley
All right.
Coyote, right?
Yeah, Wiley Coyote. That's a coyote, Emerson.
No, I meant like it's Looney Tunes.
That's
Where's
the
the
idea,
no one
guys.
cares?
That is the idea.
Come on now, there we go.
Okay.
Hit me with it one more time.
I care. Chase or fade, the name of the game. This is Tiger Woods' first tournament of 2019. He's at plus 1,400 to win the whole thing. So chase or fade, the Tiger at least has a top 10 finish, Jeff.
I'm going to chase it. I mean, look, and if you're looking at betting Tiger this week, I mean, I think most people will be like, we'll see how he does. But look, the natural progression here for Tiger is that last year's coming off injury. He got the full season under his belt. He's healthy. He's got the win. The natural progression is he goes back, start being closer to old Tiger, which is like winning every second tournament. So plus 1,400, whatever it's at, it's really not that bad a price. This is also Torrey Pines, where, you know, newsflash, he's won 8 times, including a major championship. So this course is one of the ones that he just absolutely has owned over his career. I'm chasing a Tiger top 10 finish here. I'm not scared of rust or anything. I think he's going to come in full guns to start 2019.
Reed, what do you think? Top 10 finish?
Yeah, I'm with Wiley and Jeff here. Like, I'm chasing this as well. Like, historically, right, Tiger, and Jeff mentioned it, he has been injured over the past few seasons, but he's a slow starter, right? If you just look at his finishes when he started the season, Farmers last year, he finished 23rd, but if you go back before that, he missed a couple of cuts in his first tournament out, trying to get off that rust. But this guy's recent form is fantastic. This is his tournament. Tiger has always been a course horse. We know that. This is one of those courses where he just plays well. He loves this area. He just is, whatever it is with Torrey Pines, especially with this course and the recent form, he's playing well. I mean, scrambling, he's top 5 or top 2, I think. And par 4 scoring between that 450 to 500 yards, he's the ball striking, it's all there for Tiger. He's putting well again. So, yeah, I'm going to chase this.
From 2014, 2018, too, just to throw this out there, he was basically injured every year he played. Like, he was not 100%. So, again, coming in healthy this year.
Yes, he is. It's good to have him back. John Rahm is plus 250 to finish in the top 5. Reed Muffin, chase or fade, he will not finish that high in this weekend's tournament.
Yeah, I'm going to chase that. I think John Rahm is a fantastic play here, just in terms of what he's able to do right. He hits it long off the tee. You have to keep it in the fairway, but you can get away with hitting it pretty far and being in this rough and just having a wedge up. And he's won it, right? He's won 2017, and he's finished top 30, I think, in his previous one after or before that win. But with him, and especially if you look at that last tournament last week, he really should have won that, right? He's got 3 top 10s with a victory already this year, so he's coming in great recent form. The one thing that keeps him out of the top 5 for me is his par 4 scoring at that long distance is not that good. Over the last 36 rounds, he's 100th on tour, so those long par 4s give him trouble. So I think top 10, but I think that alone, because you really have to score here in the South Course, really tough in those long par 4s, that keeps him out of the top 5 for me.
Yeah, if you're talking fantasy purposes, he's the most expensive player here on the slate at 11-4. What do you think, Jeff, about John Rahm?
Yeah, I mean, look, long term, this is a good venue for John Rahm. It really is. Obviously, he's won here before, but he likes his classical, longer venues. The thing is, if you're buying John Rahm, if you're taking plus 250 for a top 5, or you're paying up for him on DraftKings, you're paying the absolute top price for John Rahm. And I know he's got a really good top 5 percentage over his career, but most of those top 5s have come in weaker fields. So we haven't really seen him win like these really classy big events so often. This is probably the biggest tournament he's ever won, quite frankly, back in 2017. And I'm just not paying this price for him. I'm not paying the DraftKings price, and I'm not paying the plus 250 for a top 5. So I'm going to fade this. We've also seen this event, you know, some of these top guys have really spotty records here. It's tough early in the season. It's a tough venue. A lot of the top players have missed cuts. I just don't trust John Rahm enough, quite frankly, to pay plus 250 for a top 5. So I'm fading this.
Last year's winner, Jason Day, has plus 1,600 odds to repeat. So chase or fade that he pulls off the back-to-back feat, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar story with Jason Day. I mean, it's a really good setup for him. He likes these longer, tougher U.S. Open-style venues where scrambling can come into play. I can't pay plus 1,600 for Jason Day when the ball striking has still been spotty, even going back to last year. I know he won twice last year, but my God, the guy just putted the lights out in both of those wins. So plus 1,600, the venue works, but I'm just not paying it. And I'm definitely going to fade that he's going to repeat. And also, just one more fact, both Rahm and Day, they start on the North Course. I believe it's the last 8 or 9 winners have started on the South Course. So the trend is against them too.
A lot of fun facts from Jeff today. Way to come prepared.
Yeah, Reed, what about you? You going to take a chance on Jason Day, plus 1,600?
Yeah, Jason Day, Jeff hit the nail on the head there. I mean, Jason Day loves this course, and this is a course really where you look at the course form, right? The course horse trend, if you want, or that narrative. this is one of the places where you can kind of play that out. Plus 1,600 is not that bad. He's won this twice, so he really likes his course. But again, he's really doing it on the back of your short game and putting. And if that goes south, and I remember I've rostered Jason Day in some of these major style tournaments, or even the majors, where his putting was maybe just average or just matched the field, and he was 50th to missing the cut. And if his ball striking is not there, then Jason Day at plus 1,600 to go back to back. Look, only 3 people have done this at this tournament. It's been Tiger, Phil, and J.C. Snead back in the mid 70s. So it's very tough to do back to back in any tournament, let alone this one that's extremely tough. So plus 1,600, even though it's nice, I'm going to fade it.
All right, you guys did great. Just a typical story there. Of
course.
Next time we see you, we'll have you predict where a few other big names will finish this weekend. Maybe Reed will give us his lineup. Who knows? But
really
for now,
it.
Let's bring in Chris Wassel of Awesemo.com here to take a gander at tonight's 6-game NHL slate, and more specifically choosing between the top 2 options at each position.
It's a little segment we like to call Opening Face-Off.
Wow, the graphics says it all.
Yeah, at center, 2 of the best are on the slate tonight. Nathan MacKinnon at 8,100 is the highest priced skater, and Austin Matthews not far behind him at 7,800. So who do you like and why, Chris?
Okay, this is going to be a good one tonight. First things first. Do not expect Toronto and Washington to be quite as off the wall as everybody has predicted. Just right off the bat. Expect a lot of shots, expect some goals, but 7-6 is not going to happen. This is why I'm going with Nathan MacKinnon tonight. Look, MacKinnon slumped a little bit the last couple games. It's angered a few of the masses out there. I get it, but this is going to happen every so often during a season when your top line literally carries half your offense. And in this case, it's no exception. Minnesota, for as good as they can be at times, they can be downright awful as well. And often these Colorado-Minnesota games take a life of their own. And it's a main reason why you should at least consider Nathan MacKinnon first and foremost, but you probably should take a peek at Colorado's second line, which is criminally underpriced tonight.
All right, in the wing department, Vegas has allowed 17 goals in its last 5 games.
Good.
So
Can confirm,
not good at all. So let's target 2 gentlemen playing against the Golden Knights tonight. Would you rather use Victor Arvidsson at 7,100 or Philip Forsberg, who's $200 cheaper?
Forsberg may be cheaper, but on this night, cheaper is not always better.
What?
First things first, Victor Arvidsson's averaging 4 shots on goal a game over his last 10 games. It's been, common knowledge that since Arvidsson came back from injury, he has been just shooting lights out. He has 8 goals on his last 40 shots, which spans 10 games. Last I checked, if you're in a GPP, you kind of want goals because a goal is 3 points, an assist is 2, and if you can get a high shot counter on top of it, you want a guy like Arvidsson who's been firing the puck. Also, another thing too is he's been averaging well over 7 attempts a game. Now, while this isn't Alex Ovechkin territory, it's quite close. And look, Vegas, they can give up some shots in bunches, and they've shown that even during this hot stretch and even at home. Even though Vegas has 16 home wins and only 5 losses in regulation, they do give up over 32 shots per 60 at home. If it wasn't for Marc-Andre Fleury, this would be a lot different Vegas team.
All right, back on the blue line, 2 big-name players coming off bad games. So Montreal's Shea Weber is 5,500 as the Habs host the Coyotes, but he scored just 1/2 of a fantasy point in his last game. That is not even 1.
Yeah, that's
so
0.5.
Tyson Barrie has had a breakout fantasy season for Colorado, and he'll run you 5-3 against the Wild, but he scored 0 points last time
That's
out.
less than 0.5.
That's less than 0.5. So who do you see having a bounce-back performance, Chris?
Probably just from a strict floor standpoint, as far as shots and block shots, it would have to be. You would think it would have to be Shea Weber. Look, you're gonna have clunkers during the season, and hopefully tonight's not one of them. Look, we call this getaway night in the NHL for a reason. That dreaded night before the All-Star break, where it just seems like there's close to a full moon this week, so. You have to kind of pause a little bit.
It was a blood moon.
Still would be it still would be Petrie, just for the simple fact that better floor, better matchup against a banged-up Arizona team. Remember, no Oliver and Ekman-Larsson for Arizona, so that's 7 regulars that are out of the lineup now. And for as much as this is kind of all about Max Domi versus Alex Galchenyuk tonight, it could be a guy like Shea Weber who steals the show.
All right, center, wing, blue line. How about back in net, looking at 2 of Canada's top teams hitting the ice? You feeling the slate's highest priced player, Carey Price, at home versus Arizona, or would you rather pay down for Toronto's Frederik Andersen at home against the Caps? Please.
It's the toughest decision of the night by far.
Oh, well,
Frederik Andersen is a rhythm goalie. He typically thrives on seeing 32, 35 plus shots a night. I don't know if Washington has that in them tonight, and that may actually be a problem for Andersen. And it's the same kind of problem for Carey Price tonight. Nobody knows what kind of shot output Arizona is going to be able to produce. This is their 4th game in 6 nights. Like you mentioned previously, the injuries are piling up. You have to expect maybe a lower shot count from both teams, maybe somewhere in the range of 25 to 28 shots. And that actually benefits Carey Price a little bit more. I wouldn't have either one as a tournament goalie tonight. It would be more of a cash play for everybody. But if you're going to risk it, it would have to be Carey Price tonight. He's the best chance of a win.
All right, slate approved. Pick time. Who is your lock for tonight's slate, Chris?
Well, it worked well last night, at least. Most of it. It started out really well. It didn't end so great. But I have to go with good old Nathan McKinnon tonight. I'm writing the narrative of the simple, 3 points the other night, a couple points the night, game before. He doesn't slump usually more than 2 or 3 games in a season over the past few. He lights it up at least for a goal and assist tonight.
All right, my friend. Thank you, Christopher. We appreciate you. Until next time. Because right now,
how's it going, guys?
Toodaloo, dude. We're turning the page to the NFL. And our panel of Steve, Garion, and Pierce, they all have returned, all here to put a fantasy spin on key storylines for the Super Bowl, a game we like to call NFL Spin Move. Makes sense.
Yeah, as you can see right there, Jared Goff making his Super Bowl debut and is the 3rd highest priced player on the slate at $15,000. That's as your captain, though. So he's $10K in the flex. But how much sense does that make considering he scored under 16 fantasy points in both of his playoff starts, Garion?
I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's almost out of necessity. Like, when we have a situation where we can't necessarily pinpoint who the Rams' go-to running back is going to be, you kind of have to make their quarterback the highest priced player on the team, especially when they have the dichotomy they have in their receiving corps. So Goff is there out of necessity, but that's not to say that I don't necessarily like his price point. I think the Patriots win this game. That means I think the Rams are playing from behind. It's a pretty simple causation that I would then like the Rams quarterback. And also, for as good as the Patriots pass defense was in the second half of the season, and statistically they were phenomenal, you kind of have to look at the quality of opponent. After week 8, they got to play the Jets twice, who are the 2nd worst team in the AFC in terms of pass DVOA, the Bills twice, who are the worst team in the AFC in terms of pass DVOA, the Dolphins, who are the 3rd worst team by DVOA in the AFC for passing, and the Titans, who, you guessed it, are the 4th worst team in the AFC by pass DVOA. So I think decent and good quarterbacks can put up numbers against this defense. So I'm perfectly fine with this price for Jared Goff.
Steve, he scored under 16 fantasy points in both of his playoff starts, so would you captain him?
I mean, for a showdown slate, I'm okay with the pricing here. Realistically, you can't have a starting quarterback that low in pricing. Unless Blake Bortles is on the field. Sorry, Emerson.
The boat! Whatever,
but, look, during the 2 weeks when we had more than 2 games going here, Goff was the cheapest, if not the cheapest quarterback to choose from. I just can't see using him at captain here. He's been way too inconsistent this season, especially since the second half. There's so many Patriots players that I'd much rather play in this spot here. Realistically, both Brady and Goff could end up with this game not throwing a passing touchdown. We've seen it a number of times here. And look, let's take a look at what Goff did against Week 15 against the Eagles. He had 0 touchdowns thrown 339 yards. If he was your captain in that game, he would have got you 23.4 DK fantasy points. It's not really a total you're looking for at your captain. You're looking for one of those huge players that can put up a huge amount of points here. So I get the pricing for the showdown slate, but he's not going to be anywhere near my captain spot in this game.
Pierce, what are you doing here?
Goff just hasn't looked that good in the playoffs. I would much rather go with Tom Brady. I think you got to roster quarterback, but I don't want to put a quarterback in the captain slot. For me, I want to put a guy who can get 2-3 touchdowns in the captain slot and maximize the points and maybe not spend as much. I'm looking at the running backs as the possibility here. I just don't agree with taking a quarterback. You just don't get the points. You need the rushing touchdowns, the receiving touchdowns. You need the guy who hits his ceiling. I don't see Goff getting a ceiling game here, not after the last 2 weeks. They can run the ball. They can run it with multiple running backs. Don't see the big points coming from.
Rex Burkhead was the late game hero of the AFC Championship, scoring not 1, 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. He's going to cost you $7,200 in the captain spot, but only $4,800 in the flex. You can afford that. How fair is this showdown price, Steven?
I think it's very appropriately priced because, look, he's not ahead of Sony Michel. He's not ahead of James White. And he's right behind CJ Anderson, and that's exactly the type of role that Rex Burkhead plays on this Patriots offense. He is the third option out of those guys, and he is the guy that, should be behind Todd Gurley and CJ Anderson. He's only had 3 games with double-digit carries so far this season. Next game, after all those games, his carries were almost cut in half. I mean, this is not a guy who consistently sees the field. He does get some passing work, but it's just not consistent. Can he get in the end zone? Absolutely. But you can't bank on that, especially with how well Sony Michel has been playing. 5 touchdowns during the playoffs. That's someone who's been absolutely crushing it, getting the goal line carries. White usually doesn't get the goal line carries, but they've just been giving it to Michel. I don't see how all of a sudden they're going to switch it up and start giving it to Burkhead. I know we had the 2 touchdowns in that last game, but Michel has been the guy in the playoffs late in the season. I feel like they're going to keep grounding and pounding with him. Burkhead's a good way to differentiate your lineup to save some salary, but he's not somebody that's guaranteed to hit pay dirt here.
Pierce, this Rex Burkhead price tag, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, I like it. I'm not joking around when I tell people roster all of the Patriots running backs. It's fine. If you build 7 lineups, you can build every combination you need of all Patriots. I don't know. Maybe we would go all Patriots, all Rams running backs. I haven't really tried to put that together, and that's probably not like the outcome. But here, think about this. I'd like to see what these guys say the odds are, but 2 Patriot running backs in the optimal lineup, I would say plus 200. It's very likely that the optimal lineup has 2 Patriot running backs.
Garion, yeah, liking what you're seeing with Rex Burkhead and the price tag that comes with him.
Yeah, I think what Pierce said is right. I wouldn't be captaining Burkhead. I think there's too much variance in what his role could be on a week-to-week basis for me to do that. And I also think that the 12 carries we saw last week, that hinged on a very specific strategy on how to beat the Chiefs. And we had seen it when these 2 teams met earlier in the season as well. The Patriots knew they could run the ball on the Chiefs and keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, and we saw that for 120-plus minutes. So maybe they're not as run-inclined this week, and that sort of limits the touches that Burkhead sees. I mean, this is also someone who touched the ball 16 times last week, but I don't think the Patriots are running 97 offensive plays again. So you kind of have to take some of these things with a grain of salt. But he's the lowest price of the 3, as he should be. He has a fluctuating role in this offense, and he can catch passes out of the backfield. He can line up as a receiver. He can get goal line carries. He's viable. It's fine. And I think Pierce is right. You're going to want a lot of exposure to the running backs in this game. So, like I said, I wouldn't captain him, but I think you can definitely have lineups with Rex Burkhead in them.
Well, Patriots wide receiver Philip Dorsett has scored a TD in 3 consecutive games. $6,300 as your captain, $2,100 less if you roster him in the flex. Pierce, could he be a dark horse candidate with the Rams focusing on the likes of Edelman, Hogan, guys like Gronk?
I don't know if there is such a thing as a dark horse candidate in the 1-game slate in the Super Bowl. We've got 2 weeks to talk about every single player on the field. Don't think a dark horse exists. I think he can score again. They're going to get a chance when they get around the 30-yard line, and they're going to run that patented fade to him. They're going to wait until he's matched up on probably Marcus Peters, not going to have safety support, and you're going to have that one shot at the fade for the touchdown. And so far, it's been working out. So Tom Brady is as accurate as ever. He'll throw that back shoulder pass. I like him a lot.
Steve, do you like him a lot?
I liked him a lot. I even have him in my captain spot last week.
What?
I was already on this train, baby. So I'm actually going to ride it here for the Super Bowl. And here we go. Mark the tape right here. I think he's a dark horse candidate to get MVP Super Bowl honors.
Oh, my God.
Right here, baby. And let me tell you why. I mean, he's hit the end zone in 3 straight games. If he gets it twice in this game, you can't tell me that he doesn't have a legitimate shot at getting it there. Go look at the sports book. Look at the odds on Dorsett. If you're not throwing a little bit of money on MVP for Dorsett here, I think you're absolutely crazy.
Steve, Pierce says there can't be a dark horse.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pierce wasn't even on the show for 4 months. I mean, that just goes to say what we think about his opinions. We just brought him back because we didn't have anybody else. Look, Brady has thrown 2 touchdowns so far in the playoffs. They've both gone to Dorsett. And then you look at the matchup he's going to be primarily seeing. He's going to be seeing a good chunk of Marcus Peters. Oh, watch out, everybody. It's Marcus Peters, who's allowed 8 receptions on 10 targets his way during the playoffs for 143 yards. I think Dorsett has to absolutely be in your lineups here. He's somebody who can absolutely hit pay dirt. And Brady has been throwing his way in the red zone. I think he's someone that you absolutely have to consider at captain on your lineup and Super Bowl MVP.
Gary, you looked like you were almost starting to get convinced by what Steve was saying.
I had the vapors there. I think I almost passed out.
Yeah.
It's cold here, so that's surprising. It was a really hot take. I think he's super viable. I'm not going to quite go to the extent that Steve did. I figured he'd bring that up. I know he was trumpeting that on Sunday, so this works out pretty well. Look, I think a lot of people might be inclined to go Hogan just because you know he's going to be on the field more than Dorsett, but that guy can go invisible super quick. And even the saving grace that he had for most of the season, which was he tended to be the Patriots' deep threat, that's not even really true anymore. By ADOT, it's Dorsett who's been running the higher leverage, deeper routes so far in the playoffs at over 16.5 yards per target. So, yeah, he might only play 40% of the snaps, but I do think the Patriots are going to be throwing the ball more in this game than they did against the Chiefs. And any sort of increase in their passing volume means good things for the tertiary passing pieces. And that is Philip Dorsett. If he can catch a touchdown, which is super on the table, he's a lock to reach incredible value. So, yeah, he's very viable.
MVP.
All right, we hear you, kid. You 3 go do whatever it is you do on a Wednesday night. We appreciate your time. NBA Tears of Joy is next, as is PGA High or Low.
Brendan Glasheen here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Per ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, the Grizzlies are listening to trade offers for their franchise stars, center Marc Gasol and guard Mike Conley. It's really too bad. Grizz have lost 9 of 10, and their star duo has been the centerpiece for the franchise, leading Memphis to the playoffs for 7 straight years before 2018. The team even reached the Western Conference Finals in 2013. Gasol, let's start there, has been rumored trade bait in the past. The 33-year-old has a player option for next season due to make north of $25 million. On the fantasy end, he's only scored more than 50 DK points once in his last 10 games. Shooting percentage is alarming, just 43%. That's second worst in his career compared to last year, which was his worst, 42%. Mike Conley's situation is trickier. He's owed substantial money, likely $67 million through 2021. He's only missed 1 game this year after playing in just 12 a season ago due to injury. 19.8 points per game, second highest of his career. Not too shabby. Thing is, the Grizzlies just aren't winning games. As we hear all the time from coaches, not easy to win in the NBA. Gasol and Conley's names will pop up frequently prior to the February 7th trade deadline.
Back here on The Sweat, Jessie and Emerson here with you, and our NBA panel has decided to make a return as well. DK Live's Julian Edlow, Alex Barutha from RotoWire, Colin Phillips of the New York Daily News, and AwesomeOs.com, Josh Engelman in the green room.
Now, before we get your help with tonight's DraftKings Tiers contest, what late-breaking injury or lineup news do you have your eye on entering tonight's slate, Julian?
Yeah, so Nene is going to rest for the Rockets, which means the recently signed Kenneth Faried is going to jump into the starting lineup. He's looked pretty good with the Rockets so far. And for $4,400 starting against the Knicks, a team that you can really hurt on the interior, get some rebounds against, I think Kenneth Faried at $4,400 has become one of the strongest plays on this slate.
Karan, besides Nene, anybody you're keeping an eye on?
I saw a tweet earlier from my man Keith Pompey up in Philly that Jimmy Butler is looking to be a scratch tonight. So any Philly fans or anyone who was, looking at that game, you might want to take a second glance at.
Josh, what about you?
Yeah, Marc Gasol is interesting if he's truly questionable and ends up not playing. We'll firm up Jaren Jackson's minutes and then bring JaMychal Green back into play. I think he's at 5,100 tonight. He'd be able to soak up as much as he can unless they want to give heavy minutes to Ivan Rabb.
All right, and you finally, Alex, anything else to keep an eye on?
Joel Embiid is a game time decision. That's something to keep an eye on, especially with Jimmy Butler being a scratch. So we could start Mike Muscala. Jonah Bolden's been looking really good for the 76ers, so those are options.
All right, let's roll the tiers of joy open. Top choice for tier 5, Alex, go.
I like Lauri Markkanen here. His rebounding's been up since Wendell Carter Jr. Got hurt. He's averaging 41 DraftKings points over the past 2 games, and he's playing the Hawks, and the Hawks aren't good. So,
Josh, you're up next.
Yeah, that's basically the same way that I would have explained it. I really like Markkanen. He's a pretty clear pick for me. The Hawks, not great pace up spot for the Bulls. Markkanen should be able to play, 32 plus minutes. It's just Markkanen for me.
All right, who do you like in tier 5, Karin?
I like Justice Winslow here, even though that Lauri Markkanen pick is a very, very sexy one. But I'm always a fan of guys who can do a number of different things on the court. And with his move to the point guard position, we've seen his scoring go up and his assists. He's also a guy that likes to get rebounds and push the ball up the floor. So I would take Justice Winslow here.
Julian, Karin calls the Markkanen pick very sexy. Thoughts?
I also find the Markkanen pick very sexy, and that's why he's going to be my pick in this tier. Look, the matchup against the Hawks, I think it comes down to the 2 Bulls here. So if you want to be a little contrarian, maybe Chris Dunn is the guy that you want to go with. The Hawks are also terrible defensively against guards, and you know that you're going to get a good pace in that game. But I think it just comes down to Markkanen playing really well in his last few games, and Wendell Carter Jr. being out. Markkanen's definitely the safest play in this tier.
All right, well, after 5 comes 6. So who's your guy and why, Karin?
I got 2.
Ooh.
Because, as a budget guy, I've got 2 options for you here. We're all looking at Jason Tatum as like the shining, sexiest star of all of these things, okay? Like, he's a Victoria's Secret angel tonight right now with Kyrie Irving probably not playing. But let's also take a look at Eric Gordon, as we see Houston will be in New York, because we know how the Knicks are, and guys like to play very good in that system. And after the pecking order in Houston goes James Harden, Eric Gordon, then maybe Austin Rivers, then everyone else. So expect a big night from Eric Gordon. So if you've been saving your money, like I always tell you to do, you can look at Jason Tatum or maybe Eric Gordon as well.
Josh, what about you?
I do agree that Jason Tatum is probably the obvious play here, but I'll make a little bit of a switch and say we never know what Hassan Whiteside's minutes are going to look like. It could be 20 or it could be 28. And if it's 28, he becomes a really obvious pick in this tier. I think that the variability in Whiteside's performance in terms of minutes is the draw for me. So I'll go Whiteside.
Well,
oh my God! Wait, was that a real sneeze?
Yes, it was.
Oh my God!
Alex, where are
How
you
does that
going
happen?
in tier 6? What do you mean? How does it happen? I sneeze.
Yeah, but it usually doesn't happen when you're doing stuff.
I'm sorry.
It's called biology. It happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
What the hell?
Thanks for having my back, guys. It's a freaking sneeze, Alex.
I do also like Jason Tatum here. The game script is in his favor with Kyrie and Horford out. I'm a little interested in Rudy Gay if we're trying to pivot off somebody just because Davis Bertans is out, which I know is kind of the opposite of a sexy name. But, you know, with him out, they're going to need Rudy Gay to play more minutes on the wing and at forward. And if he gets 30, 32, 33 minutes, you could get 35 DraftKings points. It's definitely not out of the question.
And finally, Julian, tier 6.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go with Jason Tatum here, but we've talked about him a lot. So I guess that the fact that we made it through this whole segment with all 3 other guys going and not mentioning Jarrett Allen makes me a little more interested in him because maybe he'll be a little more low-owned than I thought. Allen just showed us 60 DK point upside against Houston. He scored 31 DK points in this very matchup 2 games ago against the Orlando Magic. So Tatum probably the safer play, but if you want to go for some upside, Jared Allen's looked really good lately.
Hey, Josh, is that a Patrick Ewing shirt you got on?
Yeah, it is.
That looks dope, dude. I
There
like
we
it.
go.
Old school kid.
Looking good.
Touche. You win outfit of the day.
Perfect.
Before you guys take off, though, how about those slate approved picks? And we'll start with you, Josh. You've earned it.
It's just James Harden for me. I cannot get away from this dude. He is on another level. 46% usage, 27 plus shot attempts. If he gets hot and starts shooting threes, I can't even imagine how many he'll take today. I just want Harden everywhere.
Julian.
Yeah, it's Harden. He's the obvious one. So just, I guess, in an attempt to stay away from that, I'll echo his teammate again, Kenneth Faried. I really like the spot that he's in for 4,400. And you're going to need guys at that price tag if you're spending up for 13.4 on Harden.
Karin, I know you liked Mr. Harden earlier in the program. Is he going to be your slate approved pick, though?
Definitely. Staying with James Harden. And quick question about the Jared Allen thing. Is it me, or does that guy not look like he plays basketball for the Flint Tropics?
Oh, yes. Actually.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't the only one.
Spumoni.
And that would leave you, Mr. Alex. Go ahead, 10-game slate.
Yeah, I have to agree with James Harden, but you're going to have to, pay down for other people to get him in there. So I do like Terry Rozier. It's very obvious, very chalky, but he's only 4,000 because the injury news came late. He only needs about 20 DraftKings points to hit value. That's way too easy for him.
All right, folks, thank you so much for your help. One more block to go. Reed and Jeff are back to give us their Farmers Insurance Open slate approved pick after a clip from the Tour Junkies After Dark show on the same tournament.
I asked you to give me some names and GPPs that you liked up in the top tier on DraftKings, $9K and above. And right there at $9,300, you gave me Mr. Farmers Insurance himself, Ricky Fowler. Now, when he's not shooting commercials or, maybe possibly shacking up with a pole vaulter, he's barely making cuts at the Farmers Insurance. That's what the crap he's doing. Ricky should suit this golf course. I hear you. You can give me all the stats. But Ricky's performance here historically has been dreadful. And I think some of it may be the sponsorship liabilities. Like when the tournament is Farmers Insurance and your Farmers Insurance cuts you a big check, they've seen a thing or two, they cut a few big checks to Ricky every year. I think something happens. Like, I don't know if he has too many responsibilities, but his recent history here is absolutely awful. He's made one cut in the last 5 years at Torrey Pines, and that was in 2015, and he finished 61st. So if you're going to pay up for Ricky Fowler at $9,300, you got to give me something on Ricky. And I don't know what it is you can give me. So can you defend yourself at all on the Ricky Fowler play?
Well, I mean, come on now. Let's go back to how you started this with the whole
about the pole
sponsorship. The sponsorship thing. Who cares about that? Look, the guy's a professional. He's going to go into any tournament. It doesn't matter what kind of, sponsorship events he's got to go to and whatever else. He's going to, I don't really, that's the narrative that you would do just like this is something like, that if you're not a listener, this is something David would bring out all the time. Like some sort of just narrative. Like the sponsorship's like going to take away his time. He's not going to prepare properly. I'm not going to buy that. But look,
do you think the sponsors are asking frickin' Adam Svensson to show up at their banquet on Tuesday night?
No, but look, it's Ricky Fowler. He's in the spotlight every single week. You think 1 week where Farmers Insurance, just because he does commercials for him, is going to just make him play worse? I mean,
he sucks here.
Finally, it's the last block of the show. Really going out on a high note here with our PGA panel. DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Reed Fowler.
And Wiley.
I enjoyed that sneeze, by the way, Coffield. That was fantastic.
Dude, Emerson
was like
does not.
so shocked.
I just don't get it. Like, I've never heard someone like really sneeze on like a live TV. Because
Emerson's never heard a sneeze before in his life.
I have, but when people are sneezing, they're not like, they're just tend to be like not focused.
What do you want me to do?
I don't know, man. It's just really weird.
All right, let's get to high or low.
High or low time. So will these golfers finish higher or lower than the number we give you? Remember this one, guys, when we did it before? So just like think better or worse.
Better or worse, Reed?
Rory McIlroy did not play in the Farmers last season, but will cost you the second highest salary, $11,100. Will he finish higher or lower than 5th place, Reed?
Yeah, I'm going better here because, you know, I'm simple, so I got to do it in simple terms
your
here. But yeah, I like
tells
him
us
in this spot. Of the top guys in this elite pricing, he's my favorite. He's never played here before, so he doesn't really have any course history, so you can't really rely on that. But this guy, he bombs it off the tee. We know that already. His favorite club and his most effective club is a driver. And over the last 36 rounds, stroke staying off the tee, he's number 1. So he really gets that. Obviously, top 5 in win equity is up there. If you're going to pay for this guy at this price, he's got to have some win equity. And even then, the ownership, too, right? He probably comes in around the most or the highest own at that price tag. But all of these guys, right, those top 5 are pretty much equally owned. So it's really going to spread across all 5. So you're not going to get too heavy ownership on this guy. So I really like Rory.
It's his debut at Torrey Pines. So, Jeff, what do you think? Can he, better or worse than 5th place here?
Well, I'm pretty high on Rory, so I guess I'm going with high. Oh, wrong side. Damn. Okay.
You blew it.
It is his first time seeing Torrey Pines, and I think that is going to scare a lot of people off. But I mean, Reed is right. This venue sets up very, very well for someone who hits it long and hits it pretty damn straight off the tee, and who's also coming in off a start in Hawaii where his driver was just being piped like every hole, it seems like. So off the tee isn't going to be an issue for Rory here. Now, I mean, around the greens, if he gets sloppy, yeah, that might hurt him. But I think he's committed to playing more in America this year. And we've seen this right off the hop, him playing 2 starts that he's never played before. I think he's going to come in and play really well. And I think he could even be a surprise winner this week. So I'll take the higher here.
Well, Justin Rose, who's 10-8, finished 8th at the Farmers last year. So will he wrap up the weekend higher or lower than that this time around, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going to take the lower.
Okay.
There it is. Okay. I'm going to take the lower on Rose. I know he's got the good course history, but he changed every single club in his bag over the offseason. It was only a couple months ago. And you look at his ball striking last week at the Desert Classic, it was not good. Like, he basically got away just scrambling and putting, which is not really what you want to see from Justin Rose, who's traditionally been one of the most consistent ball strikers off the tee and with his irons in the game. I don't like that coming into Torrey Pines. I don't like the fact he's still got new irons that he's working out. So I'm taking the lower than, I guess it was 8th.
Reed, higher or lower for Justin Rose?
Yeah, I want to go lower on this one. There we go.
Yeah,
girl. 2 hands. I know what it is, so I don't get it wrong. But look, I'm with Jeff here with the new irons as well. You got to think that even though he comes out and he says, hey, look, it doesn't affect me. And obviously this is fine-tuned for him. And this is Hanma's their marquee guy. And so he's going to get all that special treatment. Mentally, you still have to think, right, especially if you're in between clubs or at this course, if that wind or that weather does pick up any which way, then those distances and those in-betweens, you still have to work through those. But just looking at the stats, what you kind of like about Justin Rose, par 4 scoring, at that long distance, he's elite. He's really, really good. And Quail Hollow, as well as at Bay Hill, course corollaries that are pretty similar in distance where you have to be strong off the tee. He has good course history. So if you want to go with Justin Rose, you have to rely on that course history. You have to rely that he's good in these major type fields. But current form or recent form, it's not that good. So I'm going to go lower.
All right, guys, we got 90 seconds left. But, Reed, speaking of someone who does not have a good course history here, Xander Schauffele missing the cut here last year. I believe all 3 times he's played this course, but we're talking 2019. He'll finish higher or lower than 15th. Terrence, go ahead.
Yeah, I got higher here. Look, Xander, you can look at the stats and say, like, he doesn't perform. He's never made the cut here. Local kid, he probably comes in with a lot of pressure, right? Highly touted as a rookie, obviously a San Diego kid. So he wants to perform well. So all of that pressure now with winning twice already this season. This guy's in his 3rd year. I think he just shakes off that pressure and says, you know what, screw it, let's do this. Let's go out. And he prefers POA surfaces, and that's really the putting is really where he comes kind of below the radar. So I do like him this week, so I'm going to say higher.
Yeah, Jeff, he's riding high after that season opening win for him.
Okay, I'm going to get it this time. We're going to go No, damn it, higher.
Yeah.
Well, come on, we have 30 seconds. Make it
30
quick.
No, I mean, look, he's missed the cut here 3 times in a row. But look, this is a venue that traditionally a lot of the higher elite players will have missed cuts on their record. Schauffele's just playing too good to keep missing the cut here. He's in great form. He's going to go inside the top 15 for sure, in my opinion.
15 seconds, just a name, slate approved pick. Jeff.
Patrick Cantlay.
Reed.
Tony Finau. Let's go.
Oh, my God. He's back.
That's the show. This is The Sweat. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'm Jessie Emerson. Bye. Chew.